The sun cast a warm orange hue over the beach, causing the waves to shimmer brilliantly as they gently crashed against the shore. The scent of salt water filled the air, and soft music played in the background, setting the mood for what seemed like an evening straight out of a romantic movie. I looked around, smiling at familiar faces. My friends and family chatted and laughed, their voices mixing with the sound of the gentle tide. As I laughed at a joke my friend made, my heart was light and full of joy. Suddenly, the music changed to a song I recognized. It was our song. My heart raced as I turned to see Alex walking towards me with a bouquet of roses, his eyes locked onto mine. "Why is everyone staring at me? Is there something on my face?" I joked, trying to lighten my growing nervousness. But Alex simply knelt in front of me, holding the bouquet out. "There's only one thing I've been certain about since the day I met you, Lisa," he began, his voice trembling slightly. "And that's the fact that I want to spend the rest of my life with you." He took a deep breath, then continued, "You are the most amazing woman I've ever met, and every day with you feels like a dream. So Lisa, will you make me the happiest man alive and marry me?" I was taken aback, tears forming in my eyes. The entire world seemed to fade away, leaving just Alex and me. "Yes," I managed to whisper, feeling overwhelmed. "Yes, I will marry you." The beach erupted in cheers and applause. Friends and family surrounded us with hugs and congratulations. But amidst the joy and laughter, I noticed a constant presence beside Alex, Mrs. Wright. It was almost as if she was orchestrating each moment, each detail. She'd fix his tie, whisper a word of advice, or gesture to someone to bring us champagne. At one point, as Alex and I were sharing a sweet moment, I saw Mrs. Wright lean in and whisper something in his ear. It wasn't the kind of whisper you'd miss. It was deliberate and seemed important. Alex nodded in response, giving her a quick smile, then turned his attention back to me. "Are you okay?" he asked, noticing my slightly distracted gaze. Shaking my head to clear my thoughts, I replied, "Yeah, just overwhelmed, I guess. This is all so sudden, but in a good way." My friend Jenna approached, a mischievous grin on her face. "So girl, how does it feel to be the future Mrs. Alex?" "It feels surreal," I laughed. "But I'm happy, truly happy." "That's all that matters," Jenna replied, giving me a tight hug. The evening continued with dancing, singing, and endless toasts. But that whisper, that brief moment between Alex and Mrs. Wright, stayed with me. I couldn't quite shake off the feeling that there was something more to it. Yet, I chose to brush it aside. After all, it was our engagement party, and nothing was going to ruin this special moment for me. Little did I know, that whisper would be the beginning of many whispered secrets and unsaid words. The excitement of being newly engaged was all-consuming. Alex and I would spend hours discussing our dreams for the wedding, the venue, the music, the guest list. But as we delved deeper into the plans, I started sensing a pattern. "What do you think about the venue, Lisa?" My mom suggested the Riverside Manor. She said it's exquisite and the best in town. "It's beautiful, but I was hoping for something more intimate, maybe the Sandy Beach Resort." "But Mom has already placed a booking at the manor. It's refundable," but she seemed really keen. This wasn't a one-time thing. Be it the guest list, the food menu, or even the theme, Mrs. Wright had her fingers in every pie. When I went dress shopping, Alex insisted on accompanying me. At the store, we ran into none other than Mrs. Wright. "Oh, what a coincidence. I was just here to pick up a fabric sample for my dress. But since I'm here, let's find you the perfect dress." She went on to select a few dresses for me, dismissing the ones I had chosen. "Trust me, dear, I've been through this before. I know what works best." I really liked the A-line dress with the lace detailing. "But the ball gown looks so regal, don't you think, Alex?" "Yes, Mom, I agree." Feeling defeated, I nodded. The ball gown it was. One evening, as I sat venting to Tina over coffee, she listened patiently, then said, "You know, I've been thinking. It feels like Mrs. Wright is trying to relive her wedding through yours." "You think?" "Yes, and it's not just the wedding. Remember the surprise birthday party for Alex? You had planned a quiet evening, but she insisted on a grand celebration at her place." "You're right. I had almost forgotten about that." "Lisa, it's your wedding. You need to have a say. Stand your ground." Later that night, I decided to confront Alex about it. "Don't you think your mom is a bit too involved in our wedding plans? She's just trying to help, Lisa." Help is one thing, Alex. Deciding everything for us is another. Mom has our best interests at heart. She's been through this. She knows how things work. But this is our day. We should be the ones making these decisions. Alex sighed. I understand, but she's just excited for us. Let's just go with the flow. It's only a matter of time before it's all over. Feeling a mix of frustration and helplessness, I dropped the subject, hoping things would improve. But the final straw came a few days later, when Alex casually mentioned our future living arrangements. Mom suggested we take the house next to hers. It's perfect, and she's already started the paperwork. I was taken aback. What? When did we decide that? It's a great deal, Lisa. And think about it. We'll be close to family. But that's too close for comfort, Alex. This is a decision that impacts our life. Shouldn't we be deciding this together? I thought you'd be happy. It's a beautiful house. It's not about the house, Alex. It's about us, our future. I need space to breathe. I need you to understand. He looked at me, seemingly torn between me and his mother's wishes. But before he could respond, I walked away, leaving behind a trail of unsaid words and unresolved feelings. The days turned into weeks, and every decision, every plan seemed to have Mrs. Wright's signature on it. It was suffocating. The beautiful dream of our future was turning into a nightmare, and I felt trapped. One evening, as Alex and I sat down to discuss our honeymoon plans, I tried once again to reason with him. How about Greece? I've always dreamt of exploring the islands. That sounds wonderful, but Mom thinks we should go to Switzerland. She's been there and said it's magical. Why does everything we decide need to have your mom's stamp of approval? She's traveled a lot and knows what's best. I respect that, Alex, but can't we make a decision on our own? Just once? She's just trying to help. Why can't you see that? It's not help if it's suffocating us. I feel like I'm marrying your mother, not you. Lisa, you're overreacting. Frustrated, I needed to know more. What was behind this intense bond between Alex and his mother? Was it just motherly love, or was there something more? The next day, I sought out James, an old friend of Alex's from college. Over coffee, James spilled some secrets about Alex's past. You know, Alex was super talented. He used to play the guitar, write songs. He dreamt of being a musician. Really? He never mentioned it. Mrs. Wright wasn't too fond of that idea. She wanted him in the family business, and poof, his dreams just vanished. I was shocked. So he just gave up on his dream because his mom didn't approve? That's Alex for you. He's always been like that. And it's not just careers. There was this girl he dated before you, Mandy. She was great, but Mrs. Wright didn't like her. Within weeks, they broke up. A cold feeling settled in my heart. Do you think she might manipulate situations to get her way? Oh, absolutely. Determined to gather more information, I met with Mandy. I loved Alex, she began, her eyes misty. But Mrs. Wright? She was a nightmare. She'd always find faults, create misunderstandings between us. And Alex? He'd always take her side. My heart ached as the pieces fell into place. I'm sorry, Mandy. I had no idea. You need to be careful, Lisa. She's controlling. And if she decides you're not the one, she'll do anything to break you two apart. The weight of the revelations was overwhelming. I wasn't just up against a meddling mother-in-law. I was up against a puppet master who had been pulling Alex's strings for years. That night, as I sat in our living room, I pondered over everything. The stories from James, the confessions from Mandy, and the glaring truth of my own experiences. Alex, I finally began, I love you, but I can't live like this. I need to be with someone who can make decisions, who can stand up for us. But Lisa, my mom, shouldn't be making decisions for us. You need to break free from her. Not for me, but for yourself. He looked at me, pain evident in his eyes. But before he could say anything, I continued. You had dreams, Alex. You wanted to be a musician. But you gave it up because she said so. How many more dreams will you sacrifice? Silence enveloped the room. I knew I had to take a stand, not just for my own happiness, but for the sake of Alex's freedom. He deserved a life free from the puppet strings of Mrs. Wright. The air was thick with tension the evening I approached Alex. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what was about to come. We need to talk. I know what this is about. Mom, right? More than that. It's about us. about our future, and whether we even have one. He looked down, fingers fidgeting with the frayed edges of the couch cushion. I don't know how to change, Lisa. But we have to try. Couples therapy. If not for us, for you. He sighed deeply. And if I refuse? Then we're done, Alex. I can't live like this. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. Sitting across from Dr. Simmons, the therapist, was initially awkward. There was an air of vulnerability as our deepest issues were laid bare. So, Alex, can you tell me why you always rely on your mother's advice? I trust her. She's been there for me always. But don't you trust Lisa? She's your partner. Yes, but Mom knows best. Dr. Simmons leaned forward. But what do you want, Alex? Not your mother, not Lisa. You. He looked lost, like a child separated from his parent. I don't know. The sessions brought out a lot. I watched as Alex confronted years of conditioning and manipulation. It was heart-wrenching, watching him grapple with the reality. However, not everything can be fixed. One evening, after another grueling session, I knew what I had to do. We sat in silence on the drive back home, the weight of our unsaid words pressing down on us. I think we both know what needs to happen. He nodded, tears brimming. I just wish things were different. Me too. But sometimes love isn't enough. We both deserve happiness. And right now, I don't think we can find it together. Reaching into my pocket, I pulled out the ring and placed it in his hand. It was over. The dreams, the plans, all gone. But in its place was a newfound sense of freedom and clarity. I packed my bags that night. With each item I placed into the suitcase, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. I was on a new journey now, one of self-discovery. Months later, I found myself in Greece, exploring the islands as I'd always dreamt. The sunsets, the waves, the vibrant culture, it was breathtaking. I was rediscovering myself, my passions, my dreams. In the midst of my travels, I'd sometimes hear about Alex from mutual friends, how he was trying to find himself, attempting to build a life away from Mrs. Wright's influence. It was bittersweet. I wished him all the best, truly. Everyone deserved to find their own voice, to be free from the puppet strings that bound them. But as I stood on a Grecian cliff, overlooking the vast expanse of the azure sea, I realized one thing. Breaking free was the best decision I'd ever made. For both of us. Now that the story has come to its conclusion, I have a question for all of you. Do you believe it's truly possible for someone like Alex to break free from such a deeply ingrained influence? Or is it something that will always linger? What would you do in Lisa's position? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this story, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to our channel.